What's going on, everyone? Welcome to that Super Dope podcast. This is podcast number 001. Our first guest is a former NBA player, two-time champion, five-time All-Star, Hall of Famer, and the list goes on. Mr. Bob McAdoo. First, I want to thank you for coming. My name is Marcus. I'm here with Aline.
How's it going, guys?
I think we should start off by asking you how, what was it like growing up back in the day, and how is it different from now?
Oh, it's a lot different. Life in the United States has changed tremendously. You know, was born in 1951, and in North Greensboro, North Carolina, and it was United States was in a difficult period at that time. You know, it was like apartheid. You know, blacks over here, whites over here, and that's how it was in the 50s. We just finished, I think World War II had just finished, I guess around 47 or 48. And I was, one of the after babies from World War II. So, but, it was a nice environment, really. I look back and I see how things were, but, you didn't know any better because you were young. And, you dealt with the situation. You stayed on your side of town. And like I said, segregation was big at that time. They didn't, I think the Supreme Court didn't stop segregation until 1964. That's around the time, I think I was in the 8th grade. That was the time when I first went to school with whites. Because I'd only been, stayed in the black community, going to black schools, and they started the busing in North Carolina, and things started changing at that time once integration started. So, very, very interesting period for me growing up.
Okay. Do you remember the first time you picked up a basketball? Or no?
Yeah, I think I started. I remember my father took me, I was in every sport. My father took me to football games, the college football games, North Carolina A&T, historical black college was right there in Greensboro. I used to go to see those games. He used to take me to see the basketball games. That's when I saw the great Earl Monroe, who's in the Hall of Fame. He played with the Knicks. He's got a couple of championships with the Knicks. I started seeing him play. Then he took me to the Boston Celtics and the Philadelphia 76ers. I remember him taking me to a preseason game. So I got to see Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell when they were in their heyday. And that's when I first started picking up the basketball. But basketball wasn't my favorite sport at that time. Football and baseball was what I really loved. Basketball was third. How I got twisted around, probably because I started growing and ended up being so tall that I changed over from football and baseball to basketball.
Okay, cool.
That's interesting. I played baseball in college as well, and I could just imagine you maybe on the bump, throwing 90 miles an hour.
Yeah, that's what I did. I pitched, and I was on first base, and everybody thought, I would get a college scholarship because I was really good in baseball. Okay. But when I started turning 12 and 13, basketball started to be my number one sport because I started growing. I was a shrimp, and then all of a sudden, I started growing. I couldn't help it. I mean, you look back now, my father was 6'6" and my mother was 6'1", so wow. I had no choice. I was going to be between 6'5" and 6'10", with two tall parents like that.
Now, me personally, I understand like the whole part of you growing up. Curious question for you: that first time that you picked up a basketball, I know it was your third favorite sport. Did you see yourself back then where you would be today?
No way.
I don't know.
No way. I just wanted to be a good basketball player. How I became a scorer, I don't know. Because when I started playing 12 and 13, I was basically a rebounder. And, I hated just being, like they say, a utility guy. Just hard hat, rebounding, playing defense. I kind of hated that. So I went out and started practicing shooting. I shot the ball. I must have shot over 100, 200 shots every day until, my shot came around, had confidence in it. And by the time I was 14, I was starting to be a hell of a scorer in middle school and high school.
Okay.
Do you did you ever have a moment where you thought like you finally fell in love with the game, where this became like your number one rather than your number three, or it kind of just progressed as time went by?
It kind of progressed because not only was I into sports, I was into music too.
Okay.
I played my mother had me. I was in a band in middle school and high school. I played the alto saxophone, and I'll never forget my middle school coach. I had a band practice and I had a basketball practice at the same time, and he said, "Son, you gotta make a choice. You're gonna be in the band or you're gonna play basketball." So I brought this home to my mother, and my mother told me, "You're not giving up. We pay for lessons every day. You're not giving up the music for no basketball." So that first year in middle school, I couldn't play play basketball because I was in the band. I was in a concert band. I was in a marching band. But as I got older, by the time I got to the 9th grade, the basketball kind of took over because, it just, high school was starting to look and recruit me, and I kind of knew I was good by the time I got to the 9th grade. So the saxophone kind of took back seat.
Okay. When you started playing college ball, did you have a hard time like with balancing basketball, school, and like social life?
No. When I look back at my college career, the social life definitely came second because I wanted to be good in basketball. I was a gym rat. After school, after I did my work, I was in the gym, all the time, perfecting my skill all the time.
And was school even a question? Because I know sometimes athletes get preference when it comes to college ball and things like that. Did you
I was being, in high school, I was being recruited by everybody. I must have had 200 or 300 offers. Wow. And I kind of nailed it down to UCLA, but I needed to shore up my grades a little bit, so I ended up going to Vincennes Junior College and went there. That's in Indiana, and we won a national championship at Vincennes, and then the recruiting process started again. So UCLA was the team to be on back in the day, with the legendary John Wooten. He had already won about 7 or 8 national championships. So I had my eye on them. But after Vincennes, after my 2 years at the junior college, North Carolina came in the picture. And I started being interested in North Carolina because my father was getting sick, and I kind of wanted to stay close to home. So I ended up choosing North Carolina, and that's where everything begun for me. We were a Final Four team at North Carolina, and that's when the pros started looking at me, and rest is kind of history from there.
Okay. And what feeling did you get when you got drafted to the Buffalo Braves as second pick?
It was exciting. I thought I was going to be the first pick because everybody had predicted me to be the first pick. But what had happened, Portland had the first pick. The first in 70, 71, 72, because they were expansion team, they had 3 number 1 picks. And 70, they picked Jeff Petrie. 71, they picked Sidney Wicks from UCLA. And then they had the number 1 pick again. So that meant, when my agent approached them, he said, well, we got to get the same money that these other two number one picks got. And Portland didn't want to do that. So he told me, don't worry, Buffalo's got the second pick, and you'll get the same money they got being the second pick. But, when you're a young player, you want the prestige of being the number one pick, But that didn't happen. They picked a guy from LaRue Martin from Loyola Chicago, and he only lasted 3 years before he was cut, and he really didn't have a good pro career, but they gave him less money. I was the second pick, and I made more money, which is, that wouldn't happen in today's NBA. Okay. But, I was happy. I went to Buffalo, and that's where my pro career started.
Okay.
And I have a question. What was it like winning Rookie of the Year, especially knowing that you were supposed to go number one and right after going number two, winning Rookie of the Year?
Well, it was interesting. I mean, Rookie of the Year just wasn't an automatic thing. We had a coach that didn't believe in playing rookies. They wanted to work you in, and by December, I was getting, probably 15 minutes a game. I wasn't playing like I wanted to play. And then our all-star forward got hurt, and they inserted me into the lineup in December, and I ended up averaging 18 or 19 a game. From December to the end of the season, I ended up averaging like 33 points a game as a rookie, and that put me back on the scene, put me back in the running for Rookie of the Year, and I ended up winning because I was the highest scoring rookie in that year, 1972-73 in the NBA.
Okay.
You fast forward 2 years later, and then you got MVP. Is that correct?
Yeah.
What was that like?
That was exciting. I mean, I was disappointed. I thought I should have got it my second year, but everybody said, he's young. He's you got a lot more chances, but you don't look at it like that because you don't know if injuries are going to hit you.
Yeah.
You don't know how your team is going to do, but, I was happy. That was the 1 year that the players voted for the MVP and not the press. And I think that's probably why I didn't win it my second year, because Buffalo was a small market. And, the guys that were getting the press were the guys from New York, L.A., Chicago. Buffalo's a small market. And, I came in second twice for MVP, which was disappointing to me. But, I did win it in 75. That was my third year, I think. And, it was very satisfying, to be named best player in the league.
So you always held yourself to like a higher standard.
Oh yeah, always. I was really tough on myself and my team. I mean, I wasn't vocal. I tried to lead by example, instead of, a lot of talk and stuff like that. I was, dove on the floor for loose balls. I got my rebounds and points every game, and we as a team, Buffalo was an expansion team also, and we ended up winning, I think, 24 more games than we did my rookie year, because once they saw what I could do my rookie year, they started changing and bringing in other players that complimented me, and we did very well, those latter years when I was in Buffalo.
That leads to a follow-up question. What was it like, a general knowledge question, playing in the NBA? For example, how you just mentioned you were diving for loose balls. Would you say the whole NBA was surrounded around that effort and that grit that some would say we don't see often today?
Yeah, it was, just being in the NBA was a pleasure for me because, we saw these guys on TV when we were in high school and college, and here I was out here playing with these guys. I mean, I was excited just to be out there, but once I got out there, my competitive nature took over, and I kind of forgot about the paparazzi, all the great players that we had seen growing up. My competitiveness took over. That's how I was able to get to the top of the game because of my competitiveness.
So growing up, did you have like that one player where you were like, damn, I want to be like that guy?
Well, growing up, I wanted to be like Earl Monroe, which is weird because, I was a center and Earl Monroe was a guard. But he was, the way he played, he averaged like 35, 36 points in college at Winston-Salem State and packed the house everywhere he went. They didn't have enough seats to see this guy play. Even though he played in a historical black college, it was just hard getting to see him play because everybody wanted to see him play. And my father worked at North Carolina A&T, so we could get into games and stuff. So, he's the guy, not only me, other guys, when we go in the park and play in the afternoons, that's who we would try to emulate was Earl Monroe.
Okay, cool. Did you ever have like a holy shit moment, like playing on a court or something where you were like, damn, like this is it?
No, not really. I was, like I said, I was so competitive. I was happy that I got drafted. I was happy that I went. Even people used to tease me, say, "You're going to Buffalo, you don't know what you're getting yourself into because of the cold weather." Because I was a Southern boy, used to mild weather. But it didn't bother me because my main focus had always been, once I discovered I was pretty good and could play professional ball, I just went all in head first. But your question, whether I had a probably winning the championship once I got to LA, because that's the one thing that every player, you might get all the accolades of scoring champ, MVP, rookie of the year, all-star team. Everybody wants to win a championship. You want to be that last team playing in June.
Okay.
Winning that last game.
Winning the last game in June. Yep.
You threw everything out the window when it came to all the fame, everybody asking you, "Oh, what's it like? What's this? What's that?" And you just threw it all out the window when you were on the court.
Yeah, I didn't think about it. People talk about your scoring champ, you got plaques for it, your MVP, you get trophy. I put that stuff to the side and went to the next year. It was like it was all forgotten. And you start all over again because it's a career. Even the championships, you win it, and it's like the following year you forget it. You start all over again, and you try to keep your career going because you want to make a name for yourself.
Yeah. Just winning that one isn't enough, Settling is probably the worst.
Yeah.
Worst thing you could do.
Yeah, and you can't do nothing about it. But we had a chance to win 4 in a row in LA, but injuries clipped us 2 of those 4 years because we got to the championship game 4 straight years in LA, and injuries took us out 2 of those 4 years.
Okay.
But it was still a pleasure. We won, and we won those 2, and I look at my career as being complete, once you get a NBA championship.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a sub. And you never used fame to like your advantage for anything? Like
No.
Not even like going out like with girls or nothing like that?
No, I've always been a low-key type of guy. Even at the end of my career, and then my career didn't end in Los Angeles and Philly. I went to Italy and played 6 years in Italy and won 2 EuroLeague championships, 2 Italian championships, and that was just as pleasurable winning over there as it was winning in the NBA. But no, I wasn't made like that. I guess my upbringing, I've always been a low-key type of guy, and never tried to use it to my advantage. No. And
what was it like playing with like Phil Jackson, Charles Barkley, Magic Johnson and those big names? Was there
Well,
ever
Phil Jackson wasn't a great player. He became a great coach.
Okay.
So I used to beat him up every day in practice. but of course, Magic, Kareem, James Worthy, Jamal Wilkes, those guys in the Hall of Fame. It was a pleasure playing with somebody, with those guys who were on your same level, athletically and skill-wise, and had your same mentality when it came to winning. You gotta count yourself blessed, because everybody can't win an NBA championship, and it's not on you. It's presidents, general managers that put teams together, and you got to be fortunate enough to be matched with players that are like you, like-minded and stuff, where you can get a championship, because winning a championship is probably the hardest thing in the world for a basketball player to do.
And skill can only take you so far, you'd say.
Exactly.
Especially how you just mentioned the part of everybody being like-minded.
Yeah.
You see that a lot in the NBA as well today.
Yeah, it's a team. It's a team game. I mean, you can be as great, you can be the greatest player on earth if you don't have those players behind you. I mean, when I look at the NBA today, Kevin Durant is probably in the top 3 players, and
Kyrie Irving.
He's not in the final game, because all the pieces are not there, to make them a championship contending team.
That's what I was gonna bring up. Having James Harden on the team, all these guys, and still, unfortunately.
Well, if they could have kept James Harden, that would have given them 3 superstars.
Yeah.
But a lot of things happened. COVID happened, and Kyrie didn't want to get the shot, which took him out of a lot of games, and I think that's kind of set the Brooklyn Nets back a little bit, because they didn't have him out there the whole season, and I think they had to. You correct me. Did they have the eighth spot in the East?
They had 8 because they played. I think they played the Celtics first round.
Okay, not a good matchup.
Not a great matchup.
Not a good matchup.
Offensive team, but
no, didn't have enough
Boston's
firepower.
pretty good.
Yeah, Boston had too much firepower.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
How do you think the game has changed from back then to now?
Salaries.
Salaries?
The salaries. Well, the game has grown tremendously. It's worldwide now. They've got 30 teams now. I think when I was in, it might have been about 16 or 18 teams. So the game has grown tremendously, and they got the 3-point line, which made the game different. The 3-point line, they didn't institute the 3-point line until my 9th or 10th year in the league. So we didn't have a chance to shoot that shot, on a regular basis like you see these guys doing now. The television revenue has jumped up tenfold. That's why these guys, good for them. They getting nice salaries that, they can take care of themselves and their families and the next generation forever. That's what's different about the game today than when I played in the 70s and 80s.
Okay. Going back to the 3-point line, how was that changed?
It made the game more interesting. I think they adopted it because from the ABA. I don't know if you remember that. You guys weren't born then, but the ABA had the 3-point line, and it made the game more exciting. If a team would be up by 2 and you hit a 3-pointer, you could win the game on one shot. And when we started, it was a long distance shot for us, and it was a shot that we used only in crunch time. But the guys are so skilled now, it's like a regular shot.
Normal,
When
like
you see Klay Thompson and Curry from Golden State and Brown and Tatum from Boston use it, it's like a free throw to them, which is amazing to me, because if a regular person goes out and see sees the distance on this shot, it's just incredible that they can make it at the level that they make it.
That's crazy.
I'm sure. Correct me if I'm wrong. Distance from a 3-point line in the NBA is actually much further than what you see at a normal park.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like much.
Oh, absolutely,
couple
absolutely. Because if you're in a park and you shoot a 3, the wind's probably gonna take it.
Yeah.
and take it off its mark. But it's it's a very long shot, and just I mean, I played a lot of basketball, and I just marvel at the way these guys make that shot now because it's so far.
No, I mean, I'm sure it's overwhelming, like you went through it. We obviously have never been on one of those, major courts.
Yeah.
Thousands of fans, yelling and cheering, and you're there.
And a hand's in your face.
And a hand's in your
face. You got to make it with a hand in your face. Yeah. You got to make the shot with a hand in your face.
Yeah.
I mean, when I played, I could hit the shot from the corner, but up top, it's a little bit further. I used to shoot with the guys when I was coaching with the Heat, and that shot was a little bit too far for me. I was a great long range and mid range shooter, but 3, we didn't have it in high school. These guys are shooting it, even though it's shorter in high school. From high school to college to pros, it's just a natural thing because they shot that shot, ever since they were young teenagers.
Yep.
So now that you mentioned the Heat, what was it like during your coaching career?
It was great. I was, once I left my playing in Italy, I was able to catch on and be a coach for the Miami Heat.
Was it 25 years?
Yeah, it's been since 1995. You had to count the years up.
Okay.
1995 is when I came in, and my connection with Miami was with Pat Riley because I went to L.A. and I won my first championship with Pat Riley. That was his first year as coach. And I just happened to come back from Europe in time when he left New York and came to Miami. And I had an interview, and I was one of his players, and he brought me in, and I've been here with the Miami Heat ever since.
Okay. Mm-hmm. That's what's up.
I have a question. I mean, we're going to take it back to when LeBron, Ray Allen, Dwayne Wade, Bosh, Game 6. Watching that shot go in.
From Ray Allen?
Yeah. Rebound.
That was the biggest shot that I have ever seen in my basketball career.
Okay.
That was that shot that Ray, every time I see Ray now, I see him once in a while, and I tell him that I've seen a lot of basketball, but that was the biggest shot. He was falling backwards. We were lucky we got the offensive rebound.
Yep.
Yeah.
The league had already pulled out the red carpet, everything, the rails.
Had the yellow tape around.
The yellow tape around to give the San Antonio Spurs the championship trophy. And we got that rebound. I think Bosh got it, and he gave it to Ray. Ray was backing up. And I don't know if you watch a lot of basketball now. You see a lot of guys touch the baseline because they don't know where they are.
Oh, like
because it's just a little bit of space on the corner shots. And Ray did not step out of bounds.
He didn't even look.
He didn't look. He just backed up and shot it, hit it, overtime, and our hearts just dropped. We were getting ready to go and shake San Antonio's hand too. But he made that shot, and I don't know if you read the newspaper. People were already walking out of the arena.
And then they closed. I remember
they closed the door. They wouldn't let him back in. We went to overtime, won in overtime, had a game 7, and we ended up winning. That was one of the biggest wins for the Heat.
I'd say arguably in sports history.
That was the biggest shot, definitely, in sports history. That was the most crucial shot that I have ever seen on a basketball court, and one Ray Allen hit.
I mean, there's also a lot. I mean, recently, for example, Clippers playing the 76ers, Game 7, Kawhi Leonard hitting a game winner over Joel Embiid. I don't know if you remember that one.
Yeah, when the ball bounced. Yeah, that was
that's another crazy one.
That was a big shot. He was with He was with Toronto.
Oh, Toronto.
Toronto. Yeah, he was with Toronto when he hit that shot.
That's right.
And it bounced about 3 or 4 times on the rim and went in. But I'd give that one second place. I still don't give it out.
They're both as crazy.
Ray Allen's shot was,
Allen,
Ray Allen's shot was the biggest.
Nah, I don't even think that gets second place. I just think the bounce gave it a little more drama.
Well,
but
I mean, who sees the ball hit the rim 3 and 4 times before it goes in?
Yeah,
I mean,
nobody.
that was
Yeah.
that was definitely a luck shot. Ray's shot hit rock bottom.
Yeah.
You know,
That was
It
water.
was-
That was water.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, what you call it, water. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
And what was it like coaching all those guys? LeBron, Dwayne Wade,
Oh, it was a
Bosh.
pleasure because when you got guys like that, you got a championship contending team, and those guys, all of them were coachable. It was just a pleasure. It was just a pleasure coaching them. Even before the big three got there, when Shaq got there, it changed everything for the Miami Heat. I don't know, you might have been too young, but the upper levels, when I first got to Miami, the curtains were up there.
Oh.
Only the bottom level was full.
Wow.
And when Shaq came, they opened up the curtains, and we had like a packed house every night.
That's
When
crazy.
Shaq came, it started everything anew for the Miami Heat.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
What team, like throughout of all of history, you think has been like the greatest team of all time?
That's hard to say.
That's hard.
It's hard to say. I mean, you see people talk about the Chicago Bull teams with Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan and Harper and those guys. You see them talk about the Boston Celtics with Larry Bird and Robert Parrish and McHale. You see them, they'll talk about our Laker team with Kareem, Magic, myself. It's just hard to say. Then you got the Boston Celtic teams, those teams that won about 5 or 6 championships in a row. Everybody played in a different decade, and it's hard to pick who had the best team. Naturally, I'm going to say me. I'm going to say our Laker team because I think it's the first time in history that a team could put 3 league MVPs out on the court at one time with Kareem, Magic, and myself. Nobody's been able to do that.
Okay.
And like I said, the injuries, people say, well, how come y'all didn't win it every year? Well, injuries took us out. We were in the championship for 4 straight years, but the injuries, we didn't have our full firepower when you have the injuries, but that's part of the game.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna do a little something called overrated, underrated. You just tell me what you think and why.
Okay.
What do you think about when Shaq and Kobe played together?
That was a great combo there.
Was it overrated or underrated?
I don't think they were overrated, and I don't think they were underrated. They were just
They were rated.
they were rated,
Rated
high,
as they should be.
and they won championships with that team, and that's all it is to it. I don't think it was either one, overrated nor underrated.
Okay. What about Miami's big three?
Miami's big three,
D Wade, LeBron.
not overrated and not underrated. Everybody knew what was coming down the pike when those three guys got together. They knew we were gonna win. The one disappointment was losing to Dallas that one year. And then we lost to San Antonio one year. So, it was disappointing that we didn't win 4 years in a row. We had a chance. It was there for us, but, that's the way it is. Those guys, the Mavericks played better than us that one year, and San Antonio played better than us the one of the other years. So,
Okay. What do you think about Russell Westbrook as a player? Over or under?
he's a great player. I think recently he's probably been probably overrated, and you never know. Maybe he's just not a great mix with that Laker team out there. I know to me he's a guy that needs the ball in his hand, and he's not going to have the ball in his hand on a team with LeBron James. LeBron is going to dominate the ball, for the Lakers. And, it's hard. They got Anthony Davis, LeBron, and Westbrook, and that trio just didn't click like LeBron, Dwayne, and Chris Bosh.
Okay.
On paper, it looks great.
Fantastic.
So I would have to say overrated for those three out in LA.
Okay. I mean, you've been around a lot of great guards. What do you say about someone averaging a triple-double throughout the whole season?
That is quite a feat. You're talking about Oscar Robinson, which they didn't talk about back in the day, and Westbrook. I mean, that's a hell of an accomplishment. But I think Westbrook was probably in his heyday when he was with OKC. That's probably when he was with his best, because he had the ball in his hand. When you take the ball out of his hands, he just wasn't as effective as he was in OKC.
Okay.
So now that you mentioned the heyday, do you as a player, or do you how do I word this? Like when you feel, do you ever feel yourself start to decline as a player, and you kind of know like that's it, like you're going down, or no, or the whole time you're just.
When I look at my career, I never felt it. I think I quit because I got tired of, when that was in Italy. I got tired, even in the NBA. I had a good year in Philadelphia, and my contract was up, and I've got to fight to get a contract, and I got tired of doing that, so I decided to go to Europe, and was successful in Europe, and I won 2 MVPs for EuroLeague championship, won a scoring championship over there. And because I was 42, no decline in my game. They started messing around with the contract, and I got fed up with that. And I didn't even announce my retirement. I just came back to the States, and that's when I got the job coaching with the Miami Heat. Now, you're not as fast or jump as high, when you were 25 years old, but your experience, I was still healthy. To answer your question, no, I didn't really feel a decline. I stopped because I wanted to stop because of other, outside, dealings, like Philadelphia messed around and didn't sign me. But once I was over in Italy for a month, they tried to come back and sign me, and I said, no, thank you. And in Europe, I led the league in scoring, and they looked at me like I was too old. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense at all. But, you don't have, as a player, you don't have that kind of power, So I let my time run out, and I came back to the States and started coaching.
Okay.
That's one thing too I wanted to ask you. So how you said what you just said, it obviously doesn't make sense. They view you one way, and then the NBA saw you another way.
Yeah.
How would you say that's changed today? Because you see a lot of big name players. You
see a lot of older players. Yeah, you see a lot of older players now. I mean, when I was in the league, that's another thing that's changed. You brought it up. When guys back in the 80s, when 70s, when guys were 30 years old, they felt you were too old. But now you see guys, LeBron is 36, 37. Yep. Kyle Lowry with us is, 36. I mean, you see guys all the time that's playing at 36, 37 years old. I mean, Kareem played till he was 40. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, my teammate. You know, people are a lot smarter with your bodies. I mean, a lot of guys were put out the league before they were ready to go. Because it was a money thing too back in the day.
Yeah.
They knew they could get a rookie for, you know, less money than a veteran. A veteran wasn't going to settle for a small contract, so they were getting rid of players because of their money. But money is no factor now, so a lot of guys are playing into the, you know, their late 30s.
Okay.
You think LeBron's prime is over or not yet?
His prime is probably over, but he's still effective. You know, I mean, I watched LeBron for 4 years, and I see the way he takes care of his body. But you know, I mean, nobody beats Mother Nature.
Right.
You know, sooner or later you're gonna have to give it up. But I mean, if you watched the way he played last year, it was like he was a young guy, you know, playing. And like I said, I watched him for 4 years. I mean, I've never seen anybody take care of their body the way LeBron. You know, the way he stretches, lift weights, prepares mentally and physically for games. You know, he can easily play another 2 years.
That's it?
He probably can play till he's 40.
Okay.
I mean, knowing LeBron, he's going to probably want to pass Kareem. Yeah. So he's going to play another year or two, I'm sure, so he can get that number one spot for, overall scoring.
Yeah, just to piggyback on that question, too, what I think is his prime, his game is going to constantly evolve, right? So back then he used to be obviously a rookie. He was a big impact for the Caps, huge. Obviously a scorer, came to the Heat, scorer as well. Lakers score, yes, but he's more of a ball handler now, in my opinion. Correct?
Yeah.
It's just going to keep evolving. It's
Yeah,
whatever he can do to be on that court, he's going to do, and he's probably going to be the best.
Well, that's why he wants, very good players beside him, so he doesn't have to. So all the work is not on him, because he knows that'll take him out quicker.
Yeah.
If he's got to do all the work, he's got to have a Anthony Davis and a Russell Westbrook or whoever beside him, to help him do all this work. I mean, it didn't work for him this year, which is, I think, was a surprise to everybody. A team that's got 3 All-Stars on the team and they didn't even make the playoffs. Yeah. That probably won him. But I know he missed a few games this year because of injuries. That's one thing you didn't see happen to him, were injuries. Injuries, like I said, nobody beats Father Time.
Yep.
It's gonna hit you one way or another sooner or later.
100%.
Who do you think is the greatest of all time? I think that's the most controversial question.
Yeah, it's the most controversial. It's hard to say. When you look at the stats, you got to put Jordan up there. I think he's got 5 or 6 championships. You got to put LeBron up there, even though he doesn't have as many championships. Kobe's up there. Bill Russell has got the most championships. He's got 10 or even though he wasn't as electrifying as those guys, he's the champion with championships. And when you want to put absolute stats, nobody tops Wilt Chamberlain. And that's what's disappointing to me. Nobody talks about Wilt Chamberlain anymore. I mean, this guy averaged 50 points one year, 30 rebounds, 10 block shots, had 100 points in a game. But like I said, it's different decades that people played. That argument, you never know, because nobody, everybody didn't play against each other. It's hard to say.
It's also completely different eras. I think that's another thing. Bill Russell has 11 rings, right? Mm-hmm. But there was way less teams at the time.
Way less teams, but even when you say way less teams, he probably had to play against Wilt Chamberlain 5 or 6 times.
Okay.
Because it was less teams. He wasn't playing no junk centers. He was playing all-star centers every time he went out there on the court.
Okay.
So, I mean, he, those teams back in the days, they had 7, 8, 9 players that could really play, So that's why it's hard to say,
You got any crazy stories you want to tell? Or?
Mm, let me see. The craziest stuff was probably in Europe over the NBA. You know, like people rushing out on the court.
Really?
You know, like soccer matches. You know, you get crushed in and stuff. You know, once the game is over, uh, you playing against it was Yugoslavia at the time. You know, now they got the broken up Serbia, Croatia, and stuff. You know, when we went over there, it was Yugoslavia. You know, they hated the Italians. You know, toilet paper being thrown.
Really?
In Greece, cherry bombs thrown out on the floor. You know, stuff like that. It was really wild. I thought Boston was the toughest place to play, but we had tougher places to play when we went to Europe. It was really crazy over in Europe, you know, because it was like a soccer atmosphere. You know,
Did you ever do any partying during the off season or no?
off season?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. You know, it was a break from basketball, so you know you'd go out and hang out, and I don't know if you got satellite radio now. You see it. They got the station Studio 54. I mean, that was one of my hangouts when I was playing with the Knicks. Was Studio 54.
Okay.
It was fantastic. I mean, big, gigantic disco, $1 million worth of lights in the ceiling and stuff, and you see all the stars in there, and 100 people are outside trying to get in, and the guards, you know, they would see me and call me in, and place would part like the Red Sea, and I'd walk up and they let me in. I mean, it was, you know, New York was fantastic back in the day.
And those moments never made you feel like that's what I meant when we were talking about the fame. That fame never got to you, like.
No, but it did have its advantages.
Okay.
And that was one. Now that you brought it up, that was one. Studio 54. You know, I mean, if you hear some of the announcers on the satellite radio, they talk about that, how, you know, it'd be 100, 200 people outside, and, you know, the bodyguards or whatever, they call people in, and, you know, people would split like the Red Sea, and you walk right on up, and they let
Everybody
you in
there
like you was a star, you know.
Because you were. I mean.
Yeah, you know, back in the day. So, but you didn't think nothing of it. Like I said, I didn't try to take advantage of my fame back in the day. That's why I like it low key now, because back in the day when I was, you know, one of the best players, hell, I couldn't even go to a restaurant and eat, you know, and have peace, because people, you know, you'd be walking out on the street and people are stopping you for autographs and stuff.
Pictures,
and you know, I've always been the type where, you know, I try to sign as many autographs as I can, then I gotta go. You know, I wasn't gonna rebuff people, but you know, once I got into coaching, and you know, the new crowd, the new superstars start coming in, and people stop recognizing you, except for the old timers. It was a lot easier to go out to eat.
Okay.
Everything settled down a little bit more.
Everything settled down a little bit. Yeah, you know, it's you know, LeBron and them got to, and Curry and them got to deal with that now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So going back to Studio 53, you said?
54.
Studio 54.
Yeah.
So who were one of the big partiers that you played with?
The big partiers?
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember Michael Ray Richardson. Michael Ray Richardson played with us with the Knicks. When I was in LA, Magic was out there, you know. He was on the scene. Kareem was kind of like me. He was kind of quiet and aloof, you know. When I was in New York, Walt Frazier was the guy. But you really didn't see him out that much. But it's, you know, we remember, we didn't have social media.
Yeah.
Like you guys now. You know, it's totally different. Totally different.
But I think, speaking of social media, Like nowadays, like big time people, they post being at a club and then everyone wants to be there. Back then, no one kind of really knew who was going until they got there.
Yeah, but I mean, Studio 54 was different. They knew the people from Broadway, people from Hollywood, athletes. They knew Studio 54 was the place to be back in the 70s.
So
all the stars was there. I mean, I saw, you know, Madonna's career got started there. Lionel Richie, Rick James, David Bowie. I mean, these are people that I saw at Studio 54 performing. You know, the disco would stop and they'd bring these people on live, and we'd be in there watching them, and it's like, wow, you know, all the superstars are there. You know,
that's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy back in the day. Yeah.
So it's almost like the Live of today.
What is that?
Live, the nightclub here in Miami Beach.
Is that right? I don't know anything about that because I don't club anymore.
They say that's where like all the Drake fans go.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good luck trying to get in there. I'll tell you
is that right? Is it a real big place?
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, this place in 54 was like damn near like a football field.
Oh, and I can't even imagine.
But it was like in New York, and you're talking about $1 million worth of lights.
Wow. And that's
spinning and twirling and smoke, and it was like unbelievable.
And back then, $1 million was worth a lot more.
Yeah, absolutely,
today.
Absolutely.
That's crazy.
Absolutely.
Would you go back?
If I could go back?
Yeah.
Like what's that movie with Michael J. Fox? With the time machine.
Hot the Time Machine. I know what you're talking about.
Back to the Future. Back to the Future. If I could go back to the future, I would definitely go back to the 70s, to see Studio 54. That's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure times change. It's just different too.
Yeah, it's different.
We can tell you our stories and talk about how
it's different. I think it was a lot safer back then too. I mean, it's like I'm a lot older than you guys, and you seeing now, it's almost like the world is spiraling out of control. Yeah. That's why it was so much fun, back in the day, because you didn't have as many crazies, and I think, I don't know for sure, I'm not a psychologist, but I gotta believe the social media has changed everything in the world. Yeah, in the world today. Yeah.
What do you think about Kyrie Irving and his situation? About that whole, I won't say scandal, but that.
No, it wasn't a scandal, but
the little situation that he had with the Nets and.
Well, I'm old school. I'm old school all the way, and my thing is, if the guy's got the freedom to do what he wants to do, but they put that team together for Durant, Harden, and Kyrie to play together, and 14 of your brothers took the shot, and for you not to take the shot, to me, I thought it was selfish on his part not to do it. You had your other 14 brothers taking the shot, and what you're supposed to be thinking about is winning a championship. And with Harden there and the other two, Durant and Irving, they had a championship contending team. And I gotta believe that's why Harden wanted to leave, because he, everybody was gonna say the right thing, and it's his choice and everything. But deep down inside, they probably saying, "Man, take the shot so we can play and get on with our business." Yeah. I guarantee that's what they're saying. "Man, take the shot so we can get on with our business."
So is that why you think Harden left?
Yeah, I believe that's why Harden left.
Okay.
Because he got tired of all the crap going on. It was only him and Durant. And he probably say, "Look, I didn't sign up for this. I signed up for Kyrie and Durant. I didn't sign up for Durant."
Durant missed a couple games too.
Yeah, he missed a couple games too.
Was it at the beginning of the season or like?
Yeah, that's why they ended up in, I think they ended up in 7. They must have ended up in 7
because
if they were 8, they would have played us first round.
Yeah, and they played
so they had to. who did they play first? Boston.
Boston, because
They played Boston, which was
They
bad
got swept.
matchup.
They got
They
swept.
got swept. Yeah.
Okay, and then what do you think about that trade that they made for Ben Simmons? Then Ben Simmons is another guy. I don't know if I agree with. I mean, I don't know if you know.
Like I said, you know, I'm an old school guy, and you know, we look at things a little bit different than way people today look at things. And when I talk to friends and we bring up certain players, it's like, hey man, you making $100 million? What's the problem? What is the problem? You know, just play. If you're injured, you're injured. But I'm from a generation that mental stuff, we didn't deal with that. Even though it was probably there, we didn't deal in that. You just played through your pains, whatever happened in your life. You know, you see guys, they got personal problems. You know, our personal problems growing up in the day was a death in the family. You know, but you see guys now, they taking off personal problems, you know, death in the family. You know, you don't know what the heck is going on.
What's
you know,
going on?
It just didn't.
So basically, Ben Simmons. I don't know if you remember last year. Was it last year? One of the years he was in the playoffs. He was right under the basket with the ball.
I saw. I remember.
He passed it out.
He was afraid to shoot.
He was afraid to shoot.
He was afraid to shoot.
The yips. I don't know if it's like that in all sports, but in baseball, it's the yips.
Well,
it's
Philly. I played in Philly. Philly's a tough town.
A tough crowd.
With the press and stuff. Crowd, press, and everybody saw that. And it's like, hey, bruh, you making $100 million. Hey, shoot the ball.
Yeah.
If you miss, you miss. But you certainly gonna miss if you don't shoot it.
100%.
And you had, you know, you're 6'8", you know, don't pass it out. You know, try to make a play on it. But, you know, when you look at basketball like I do, you probably figured, okay, he doesn't want to get fouled because he's not a good free throw shooter. And you know how people are. You know how coaches are at the end of games. If you got a guy that can't shoot a free throw, you don't want him in the game. That's what happened with Shaq. You know, we didn't want Shaq in the end of the game because we knew they were going to foul him on purpose.
Yeah.
And he wasn't going to make his free throws.
Okay.
So, you know, but hey, that's how it is. That's one of the tactics of the game. You know, if you can't shoot free throws, they're gonna intentionally foul you.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And especially late in the game.
Yeah.
So that's what happened with him, and
Matter of fact, they're gonna foul you every time. Yeah. They're not even gonna let you play offense. They're gonna foul that, you know, that player every time and make you shoot free throws and miss.
They get the ball.
Why
right
would you
back.
do that? I would do it if I was a coach. If I was a head coach, I'd do it.
Yeah.
You know, I'd embarrass you. If you can't shoot, too bad. You know.
Yeah. This guy got traded right after that happened during the off season. Got sent to the Nets, and then that's pretty much it.
And they were hoping he was going to play, and he didn't play.
He didn't play up until
more drama.
Yeah.
More drama.
Yeah. And I guess that's what's been happening to the Nets lately, huh?
Too much drama.
Yeah.
Too much drama.
How is it? Obviously, considerably greatest player, or not. How's MJ as a person?
It's, you know, I know him because of, you know, our relationship with North Carolina, but I don't know him like, say, Scottie Pippen and him because they played with him in Chicago. But, you know, he seemed like he's cool, you know.
Do you still keep in touch with any of your, I'd say, old teammates or friends like that, like Magic, for example?
Yeah, I see Magic once in a while. Matter of fact, we're going to have a get-together. He's bringing that team, that Laker team that were together in the 80s, and all of us going to go to Hawaii with wives, girlfriends, and get together in September. So that's going to be good for us. Another thing I was thinking about when I start thinking about things that you were talking about, Marcus, I was sad that Kobe ended the way he did because I've been knowing Kobe ever since he was a little boy. You know, his father played in Italy, and I used to see him out on the basketball court when he was 9 and 10 years old in Italy. You know, you never knew he was going to be the type of player that he was going to be. I mean, that was a sad moment for me when I first heard of the helicopter crash, you know, because every time as a coach, when we played the Lakers, he'd always come up to me and, you know, buongiorno, because, you know, he could speak perfect Italian, you know, because he went to school over there and everything. So that was one sad occasion for me.
Were you guys close?
Not close, but we knew each other. He remember
Yeah.
seeing me play in Italy because I played against his father, and
I'm sure every time you spoke, it was always a good
it was
conversation.
a good conversation, good feeling, and everything. Because you know, it was like he remembered me from his childhood, and he, you know, just out of respect, he'd come over. He'd be in the layup line. He'd come up to me and hug me and everything. So it was a sad day when I heard about that. And then, you know, you're talking about, you know, players that I played with and against. You know, I see somebody once in a while when I'm out here scouting, and we'll talk about old times and stuff. And then I've got a few players that I played with. They're deceased. They're gone now. So I'm at that age where, you know, we in the fourth quarter of life and stuff, you know, happens. That's probably why Magic is getting us all together. They call us the Showtime Lakers. You know, we getting together in September, all of us getting together, because all of us are in our 60s and 70s now.
You could probably make a little reality TV show out of that trip.
We could. I think they got a show coming on. I don't know if you all seen it, called Winning Time.
I've heard of it.
Yes, it's on now, but I mean, it's a lot of stuff in it is inaccurate. But it's on Showtime or Netflix or something right now. They're showing our time in the '80s with the Lakers.
I mean, I hope this brings back a little bit, like these questions at least brings back a little reminiscing thoughts.
Yeah, it does. You know, fun times in the league, bad times in the league. I mean, I had my best time was in Buffalo and LA in the league, and I had times where it wasn't fun for me. It was in Boston and Detroit. I didn't like those places where I played.
Why is that?
Bad teams.
Okay.
Bad teams. You know, didn't have a chance of winning. And, you know, when you got bad teams, you know, you get bad press. And, you know, the organizations just, you know, they kind of trash you as a player. You know, thank goodness that I was able to catch on with the Lakers, because that brought my reputation back up. You know, reputation can be destroyed in 1 year, you know, being on a bad team. So it wasn't, for me, it wasn't any fun playing in Detroit and Boston. I didn't like those two places there. And then people are surprised when they ask me, well, what about your time in Italy? And I tell them Italy was the best time for me basketball-wise. I love playing in Italy because the fans were great, the team was great, the city was great.
Food was probably great.
I was able to see, the food was great. I was able to see Europe like I never would have seen it before as a tourist, because we were the Italian champions, which put us in the EuroLeague championships. So I got to see, you know, I got to see Spain, England, Yugoslavia at the time, Israel, Greece, Portugal. I mean, just Poland. We just saw a lot of places, you know, that I would have never seen if I'd have been just a regular tourist and stuff.
And how was that culture shock? I assume it was obviously moving from the United States going over to Italy.
It wasn't bad because, remember, I had been on 6-7 teams in the NBA, so it was like
you were used to moving around.
I was used to moving around, and the only thing was the language barrier. Yeah. But it wasn't that bad because I was in Milan, and most of the players, the coach was from the United States. He could speak English, and most of the Italian players could speak English. It's only when after I left Milan after 4 years, I went to this team in Forlì. I had to learn a little bit more Italian.
Okay.
You know, I had to learn how to drive a stick.
Oh, that's
Because
right.
nobody has automatic cars in Europe. You know, everybody drives a stick in Europe. So
How about driving on the other side of the road? How was that?
no, that's in Great Britain.
Oh, okay. All right.
That's
all
in
right.
Great Britain and South Africa.
Okay.
You
okay.
know, but yeah, you're on the right side of the street in Italy. But driving a stick was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to have one in the United States though.
No, it's
'Cause
too much of a house for the
It's
drive
too
out
too
here.
much traffic here.
Yeah.
You know, changing gears, all the stuff. But it was fun over in Italy. That was weird being in those places, seeing the traffic on the opposite side of the road, and the speed that they drive. I've driven on the German autobahn.
Oh, is that the one where they have no speed limit like
No
at all?
speed limit. No speed limit. I think I got to 110, 115, and then I started getting nervous. I said, these people will pass me.
No,
I'm
I'm sure.
standing still. I'm like, no, I ain't going faster than 110.
I'm sure people
Yeah.
drive like that
Oh yeah,
regularly too.
Well, I mean, you see, those cars are made for the autobahn.
Yes.
You know, all the German cars, Mercedes,
Bugattis, all those things, yeah.
Audis, BMWs. Saw a couple Ferraris. I mean, those cars are made to do 130, 140.
Any Italian? Can you speak fluent Italian? Or?
No, but both of my younger kids speak fluent Italian.
Okay.
I understand what I need to understand.
All right. Like pass the ball.
Pass the ball, my check first and 15th, manja for the food.
For the food, man.
For the food. And you see a nice girl, Benny Quee, come here. yeah. So it was good. It was good.
And anybody pissed you off, what would you tell them?
I can't say on air because if Italians could hear this, they'll know what I'm talking about. I knew the curse words.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the first thing you learn in any language.
Yeah, because you get mad at the officials and you would say something that
You probably piss them off, huh?
I'd say it in English, but the bad thing, they could speak English. They could speak English, so you'd have to go under your breath. So, but like I said, most of the players in Italy could speak English because they hear in English. They got English television, radio. So most of them, they take English in school. They take a little bit serious. A lot more serious over there than we do over here.
Yeah.
We might have Spanish or French in our school. Yeah. It's like, okay, let me get through this and get my C and get out of here. Never knowing that one day, I got to play overseas. I should have learned that French when I was taking French in school.
Going back to the whole NBA, do you think? I feel like refs now are a lot more, don't let a lot of things like slide. And I think back then the game was a lot more aggressive than it is today. What do you think?
Well, yeah, that's one thing. Now that you brought it up, that's what's changed too. You see guys, like if you get hit in the head now, I know you've seen it. You get hit in the head, they got the camera and they review it. And they give you a flagrant foul 1 or flagrant foul 2. Don't even try that in the 70s and 80s. You get hit in the head, you better pick yourself up and shoot your free throws. That's it. That's all you get.
They don't even call it.
Now, a lot of times they missed it. Or you hit somebody in the head really hard, you're going to get fined $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. You didn't get fined for that stuff back in the day. The worst you do, you might get thrown out of the game, but then you back in the game the next day.
What was a flagrant foul back then? Like
Probably-
a fist fight?
Probably punching someone in the face while they're driving.
Punching, or you take somebody out real vicious on a layup,
Okay.
which you saw a lot of times. The stuff that you see now, guys make a shot or make a dunk and look at the bench, or they hit a 3 and put their 3 fingers up like that. If you did that back in the 70s and 80s, there was going to be retaliation.
Okay.
You was going to get hit.
Okay.
You're going to get hit because you showing up your opponent and old time players, the old time NBA, they didn't play that stuff. Totally different.
There's a situation I would like to bring up in Detroit. Actually, I don't know who they were playing, but you know that whole brawl that happened with the fans with Ron Artest.
Yeah, Ron Artest.
And obviously you played for the.
He got suspended for a lot of games. He would have probably been suspended back in the day because they didn't like you going up in the stands after fans.
Yeah.
You know. And like I said, it was different then. You got the metal detectors at games. If you went up in the stands in the 70s and 80s, you might have had a pistol pulled in your face.
Damn.
Wow.
They didn't have no metal detectors. You know, people were probably coming to games packing. You know.
Yeah.
So that's what's changed. You know, the security now is a lot different. You got to. I mean, it's just a different time and era right now.
Yeah, as you mentioned it earlier.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Time is different.
Bob, as a player, did the trash talk ever get to you or no?
No,
Players.
but you know, luckily nobody talked trash to me because
They knew.
I kept my phone. I didn't retaliate. I didn't talk back to people. If you talk to me, you were wasting your time.
Okay.
You know, it's like I was taught, you know, like if they put the camera, if they did a shot and they put a camera in my face, you wouldn't know if I was 20 points down or 20 points ahead. I never showed that type of emotion.
You said you wouldn't know, right?
You wouldn't know.
Okay.
You wouldn't know because we were taught to be like that. And now you see people getting all emotional and stuff like that. You know, a lot of us, we weren't like that. You hold your emotions in. You don't want to give your opponent something to.
I don't know.
He's showing weakness. You know, he's
let's
crying.
make him
He's
pay for
crying
it.
to the officials, and you know, we didn't do that.
I don't know if you remember when Lance Stevenson was he had to guard LeBron and then he was like blowing in his ear and stuff like that.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Well, you saw LeBron didn't.
He didn't even say
LeBron
anything.
kinda
He
just
didn't-
brushed it off.
He just let him go. Because it wasn't worth it.
And then
you know.
when they lost the series, Lance Stevenson posted about how they were a great team and this and that.
Talking about LeBron's.
Yeah.
Yeah. He gave him respect. You know, I mean, look at the antics that's happening now with Green. You know.
Yeah.
I think Cedric Maxwell said something on the air. It's been all on TV about if that had happened in the 70s and 80s, it would have been a definite fight because there were no fines. You know, you just fight, thrown out of the game, and you come back the next day. You know, those antics wouldn't have worked back in the 70s and 80s, probably the 60s. I didn't play in the 60s, but I'm sure, you know, you had rough and tumble guys that would take care of that stuff. You know, you just didn't do stuff like that. And then, you know, I don't know if you remember the Cleveland Golden State series, you know, he got thrown out of a game and it cost them the championship. They were up 3-1 on Cleveland and he got thrown out. I guess he had about, over his technicals, he had about 16. He got a technical for the game. And then I think he had to miss a game because he was over his limit with technicals. He had to miss some games. And
Yeah, I
Cleveland
remember that.
came back and won the series 4-3. You know, when they had the series in their hand. So, you know, it's stuff that, you know, like I said, the eras were totally different, the way things, you know. Now they try to protect players, and you got to, because if you miss one key player, you know, if Golden State misses Curry, you know, the series is over.
Yeah.
If Boston misses Tatum or Brown, it's over. You got to protect your players. You know, back in the day, they didn't protect players. You got hurt, next up,
Next guy up.
next guy up. That's it.
The
It was
great
more,
and
it was
just
more it was more physical back in the day.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I think they say you can do a tactical touch now. Back in the
back
day,
then it was a
they
nice
had
throw.
back in the day they grip you like this, and the defense would kind of guide you around.
Yeah.
You know, because guys were so strong. they'd have their hand on you. Now, guys shoot 12, 13 free throws a game because, whistle is blown,
Automatic.
hitting the head. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because people want to see offense. They want the offense to really have the advantage. Where back in the day, the defense had a little bit more advantage than they have today.
Okay.
And what else? The other thing that's different, centers kind of controlled the game back in the day. You don't see centers no more.
Yeah.
You don't see centers no more.
All right, can you elaborate a little bit more on that statement? Like how
Think of the centers, the great centers: David Robinson, Hakeem Olajuwon, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Bob Lanier. Could they play in today's game? Maybe, but maybe not, because it'd be hard because everything is pick and roll now. Can you imagine Kareem or Olajuwon switching on Curry from a pick and roll up top?
That is a good point.
And then they got to guard him out
right
front.
in front of him.
It's over.
Nice.
There's no way they could guard him. They didn't run a bunch of pick and rolls back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Everybody switches now. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When the defense is switching, that's what they want. They want a big guy to switch onto a guard, and he has no chance to guard a guard.
Okay.
So, and then the game is, even though we had showtime and we were fast and up and down, you got to figure if Kareem's caught or Shaq is caught in a switch, they're not going to be guard. They're going to be guard Klay Thompson and Curry or Tatum or Brown.
Yeah, I
I know a lot of people say, well, they got to guard them back down the court. Well, the big guys next to the lane are easy to guard because once you throw it into them, they're just going to double team you.
Yep.
And make you throw it out.
Yeah. They're
They're not going to let you play. So the game has changed tremendously on that part right there.
I'd say that's like what they did to Joel Embiid in the last series for the Heat.
Yeah. They made him pass it out
all the time
because he can't go through double teams. He got to pass it out.
As big as he is, or
big
as
as
strong
he
as
is,
may be.
And then we'd have him matched up in pick and rolls, and he's out there guarding Jimmy Butler.
Mm-hmm.
It ain't gonna happen. Foul trouble. That's what's gonna happen.
I think even now, like, it's almost like people will pass up a layup for a three. The ball's always going out.
Exactly. It's a 3-point, long distance shooting game, whereas back in the 70s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, the centers dominated. Kareem with the sky hook, Hakeem Olajuwon with the Hakeem shake and bake. I mean, these guys. I think that's one of the reasons I was able to play so long because my game was a little bit ahead of its time. Even though I played center, I was one of the first stretch 4 and 5s. And then you start seeing stretch 5s comes. Dirk Nowitzki, Luka Doncic, Kevin Garnett. You start seeing 6'10", 6'11", Kevin Durant, Porzingis. You see all these big guys now that can shoot because if you're underneath, of course you got the size. You get the ball, you post up, you get it, double team, make him get it out of his hand. You can't play. That's the difference in today's game.
And then you had to. you were a great shooter as well.
Yeah, I was a stretch 5, stretch 4. So,
but for those guys that were having trouble with the shooting, it was a little bit tougher.
Yeah, and when you look back now, it was easier on your body. All that banging and stuff.
Yeah, forget about that nowadays.
Yeah,
okay.
You don't last long with a bunch of that banging.
Obviously, as someone that has a lot of knowledge, and it's fantastic having you on here. I just want to ask you, me personally, what advice would you give to any young man looking to have a career in any sport, whether it's college, professional, or just starting out?
You got to stick with it. You got to work. You got to put in the time. when I look back at my career, I put in the time. I had other guys that played with me in high school, and they trying to figure out why I made it, and they didn't. Some of them you say, "Oh, the coach liked you. You was the coach's pet." I said, "No, bruh. You better respect this 6'9" and the time that I put out on the court while you were partying and having a good time and going out with the girls and at the dairy bar and all this stuff. I was out on the court, under the street lights, shooting baskets. So I put the time in. It's like, that guy or teammates of mine might have shot 50 shots a day. Hell, I was shooting 500 shots a day. Who you think's going to be the most successful being a shooter?
Damn sure you.
Yeah.
It's going to be me. I put the time in. So that's if you're a young guy, you definitely, if you like the game, whether it's basketball, football, soccer, whatever, music, whatever field you want to go in, you've got to put the time in. It's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah, there's this saying that says you have to put at least 10,000 hours into something before you can consider yourself like an expert at it. I think at sports it's probably even more.
Yeah. I mean, I've read some articles on that too about tennis players, baseball players, pitchers that's pitching. I mean, you can't just go out there or watch a game and okay, let me go out here for an hour or two, get my time in. You got people that's out there for 4 and 5 hours shooting. I mean, how you gonna beat that person? And a lot of it's in you too. You got to be competitive. You got to have a bulldog mentality. Talent is not only it also. You got to have a mentality to do it. When I look back, it was talent with me, and it was between the ears.
Okay.
It was between the ears. I mean, I was a fighter. When I got, I was a nice guy off the court, but once I got on the court between those lines, it was almost like life and death for me.
Nobody was messing with you.
No. I mean, it got to the point where, in high school, people would see me coming and say, "Oh my God, we got to deal with him." I mean, you saw it. Even in college and pros, just like, oh my God, I'm going to be running all day long. I mean, what marvels me now, and I saw Klay Thompson made a statement in the paper about Curry. He says, the guy is the best conditioned athlete in the NBA. And I believe it. If you watch him closely, he's never standing still. If he doesn't have the ball in his hand, he's the greatest.
Moving. Yeah,
he's moving all the time because he's trying to get open for a shot. I mean, it's not the biggest guy. He's 6'3", and look how he gets his shot off. Step back moves. He handles the ball. I don't know if you guys watch a lot of basketball. Him and Kyrie, they got the best handles I've ever seen on the court for basketball players.
Oh man!
And that's from handling the ball constantly when they were kids and stuff,
Oh, Allen Iverson on top of that.
Oh, Allen Iverson. Oh.
That guy was a magician.
Allen Iverson was going to shake and bake your shoes off. If you had on Adidas or Converse or Nikes, he was going to shake you, or Reeboks, he was going to shake you out of your shoes. I mean, Allen Iverson was an All-American high school football player too. So he was rugged. He was rugged. He was a small guy, but he wasn't afraid of contact, anything like that.
Yeah.
He was definitely. This guy he's one of the best ever.
And on top of that, watching all these guys play, growing up with them, playing ball with them, I'm sure that was like, you got to see so many parts of the game. Yeah. So many. Yeah. The game evolved on top of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Pistol Pete was. He went to LSU. He averaged think I'm going to say he averaged 40 points a game in college.
Shit.
What did he go in the draft?
He was in the top 5. Went to the Atlanta Hawks, played with the Atlanta Hawks, played with the Boston Celtics, played with the New Orleans Jazz. When the Jazz used to be in New Orleans. I was in a game where he had 68 points. When I was with the Knicks, he hit 68. If we'd have had the 3-point line, he'd have had 90 points.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
He made the top 75. And he died young. He died in his 40s. He had some heart problems and stuff. But he was a hell of a player. You know. Can you imagine averaging 40 points a game in college?
You don't see that.
No, you don't see that today.
No.
You don't see that today. No. No. And really, Allen Iverson didn't break out until he got to the pros. Same with me. I didn't break out until I got to the pros. The most I ever averaged in college was 19 points. When I got to the pros, I was averaging 30. So, you know, pros got a little bit more freedom to do things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think college ball and the NBA is there's like a
Yeah, it's a little bit different. You know, because college coaches have more control over the players. Then you add the time. You got a 48-minute game in the pros versus 48 minutes versus 40 minutes for college.
I just wanna say thank you, Bob, for coming on here, and I wanna
No problem.
I want to thank everyone that's watching. Thank you guys for watching. Just like, comment, subscribe, do the whole shebang.
That's good.
Thanks, Bob. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good luck to you guys with your podcast.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay.